person talking about love, thine brother is the preacher. And it seems nobody's interested in learning but the teacher.
Hey, Chalk Talkers.
Chalk Talkers.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Chalk Talk. Today, we're here with our special guest, Rebecca Roberts.
Hello.
Rebecca, she's kind of cool. She lifts stuff, and she puts it back down.
We got some cool shit to talk about before we jump into her.
Yeah. I was just kind of saying who it is that we're sitting here with. So.
They don't need to know that.
Yeah, whatever.
Hey, so first I want to talk about Amit.
Okay.
Just broke 198 squat all-time record again.
Right.
I just saw something where Jesse Norris piped in on Facebook a couple days ago and said something about making fun of his depth, I think. And I think he's kind of poking the bear, you know. So they're going to compete against each other coming up, right? They're only like 4 or 5 weeks away from showing off. So what can we expect? Who do you think's going to take it?
Oh, I mean, that's a tough contest, but I'm going to have to go with Amit on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been so dominant. I mean, I know Jesse Norris is just really cool and everything, and I mean, he competes like every day.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Amit just has so much more focus, I think, and just a little bit more drive, so I'm going to have to bet on Amit on that one.
The other interesting thing about Amit is he weighed in at 195 in this competition, so it's not like he's really cutting a lot to make weight, so I think that's going to be a difference also. I don't know what Jesse usually walks around at, but my thought is if you don't have to cut weight, that's one less thing to worry about.
Well, I mean, if you don't have to cut weight, you don't have to worry about that strength gain you're going to get either, or like the loss of strength, because you're just walking straight into a contest ready to lift. And so it's kind of like whatever you can do in training, you could almost assume you're going to be able to do it in competition, because you're not going to have all that stress of cutting weight and water loss and water retention and refeeding and all that stuff.
One of the things I just recently saw was a 94-year-old just competed in her first powerlifting competition in Florida.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So she says, I don't remember if it was squatting or deadlifting, but she said one of those two she wants to be able to do 200 pounds by her 100th birthday.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I think it's awesome.
I think she just became my new hero.
Yeah. To make it to 94 years old and compete, that's insane.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So good for her.
That's really inspiring. That's really awesome.
We have some meets coming up. November 7th, we have Jesse Burdick's meet at CSA, I believe. And that's that record breakers from Reebok. It's like $1,500 to anybody that breaks an all-time record.
Yeah.
January 2nd.
That's going to be a really cool thing, too.
Yeah, I think bringing in Reebok's huge.
Yeah.
Huge, having a big-time sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
January 2nd, up in Everett, Washington, they're having a push-pull competition.
Yeah.
And then January 9th, we just released today, we're going to have a UPA competition here at Nautilus.
Oh, that'll be cool.
Skip leg day, so bench only.
Oh, so what do you want me to do there? Just hang out?
You'll be here for looks. But I think we're going to have a lot of cool things to talk about, that this meet will bring. So some of it we won't release, or we'll slowly start releasing it throughout the next couple of weeks. But it'll definitely be worth showing up and competing.
There's also that Bellingham Brawls, the Strongman exhibition.
Yeah, when's that?
That's November 14th.
Awesome.
And that's Patrick
Zach,
Estelle
right?
and Zach, both guys we've had on the show before. They're both planning on going to the World Championships for Strongman in Norway. And so instead of doing that GoFundMe page and all that stuff, they actually decided to post a meet. And if you've never, it's not a sanctioned contest or anything, but it's just a cool opportunity to, especially if you're out here in the Northwest, to really go out and show support for local athletes that are going to that next level, going to that big show. And it just should be a really fun time, just a good time to go out and compete anyway. So.
Well, I think it's cool too that they don't start it like a GoFundMe account, to raise money so they can go travel around. That they're, trying to earn their own money.
Right.
They're not being panhandlers on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome. Good for them.
Yeah.
I think I'll definitely be up there to help support that and probably show you guys how to do a log press or yoke or whatever
That'd
you
be
guys
pretty cool.
do.
You should do some yokes.
Yeah. I'm going to get yoked first. Well, let's talk about Rebecca. So earlier,
Yeah.
I think she left.
Jeff and I are both sporting the flower power here. I think every time I've seen you, you've had a flower in your hair, so I feel like we have to do it.
Right. And I think that's kind of the big thing is because of the whole flower power movement that you always, represent. I just felt that it was right that we had to wear flowers to go along with you. So thank you for bringing in some of your collection today.
You both look very good with them.
So earlier we were up doing some benching, and you had said, well, I think we got to 135 was your first warm up, and I asked you how many reps you were going to do, and you're just like, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, whatever, well, how many ever I do. And like that's something that's super rare with women in benching. Usually benching for women isn't their strong point. Usually it's squatting or even sometimes deadlifting, but bench typically always tends to be a woman's downfall in lifting. So what have you been doing that nobody else has figured out yet as far as benching wise? I mean, how have you progressed your bench so well?
Well, I have been doing this for, next year will be 20 years, lifting. It did not start when I was born. I'd like to say that. My bench sucked when I started. My first max was 65 pounds. I've gone through periods where it's been stuck at the same weight for years, and it's just keep going, keep progressing. Lots of triceps, lots of variations, lots of work.
I feel like I should have brought a piece of paper so I could be writing this down. So I'm like, how do I get my bench stronger?
Checklist.
Yeah. Okay. Triceps.
Yeah, it did not happen overnight or over a year or even over 10 years. It's taken me this long to get it to where it's at.
Was there ever a time where you kind of felt like it's not progressing and maybe felt like wanting to quit or give up?
I have cycled through it being my least favorite lift to do because I've been so bad at it or I've been stuck at a weight for so long, but it's never made me want to quit.
Yeah. So I know this, we just talked about it, but just so everybody knows, how did you get into lifting? What was kind of your first experience, and how old were you when that happened?
So I was a sophomore in college, and growing up I played sports. I played softball and basketball and soccer, and it was always very competitive. And then when I got to college, I didn't have anything to compete at, and I missed it. I missed being active, and I went to Louisiana Tech, and they had powerlifting as a club sport. And
that's pretty cool.
That's actually really cool. I knew one of the girls that was on the team, and she said that I ought to try it out and see if I liked it. And so I did. Like I said, my first bench max was 65 pounds.
I think that was mine too.
I wasn't very good at it, but I liked it. It was fun, and we had a team of people, and there was a lot of camaraderie. So I stuck with it, and I worked hard, and seeing the progress I made even over the first year was enough to
keep you going.
I was done. I was
hooked.
I was hooked.
So you started training in college. I assume you probably played sports in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Were you like kind of forced to work out during high school, where they're like, "Hey, you guys have to be in the gym for like an hour"?
Actually, no. This was probably before they thought lifting weights was
Would
good
help.
for girls in sports.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't do any weight training. The first time I touched a weight was when I was 19.
Wow, awesome. What kind of ideas did you have in your head? Like maybe ideas you developed from, it really wasn't social media, but maybe from like magazines or listening to other people work out. Like, I think a lot of people come up with like negative stuff on lifting weights. Maybe a lot of people just want to do cardio. What kind of negative ideas did you have in your head going into a gym?
I think I was pretty lucky because my first experience was this whole team experience. We had our own weight room. We called it the dungeon. It was separate from like the intramural workout room. So everybody was focused on one thing, which was just powerlifting. And so I don't think I had, because I hadn't been in a gym that much, I didn't get a really negative experience, and I never really had one. So I think I was pretty fortunate in that regard.
So
well, I think that is a good. I think what you were talking about just a little bit ago, about the fact that you've been working at your bench for a long time. I think that's a good thing to kind of make mention of, is because there's kind of this. I think kind of what you were trying to touch on a little bit. There's this like kind of feeling in modern media that if you touch a weight, you're gonna blow up. If you're a woman and you start lifting weights, in like 2 days you're gonna be like, look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's like, you've been lifting for 20 years, and you still look very feminine. You're very, you're a beautiful woman. You don't look like a big masculine, like, yoked out dude or anything. Like, I feel, and that's how I think that the media portrays it, is that you're gonna like start lifting, and it's like in a week you're gonna be, huge. You're gonna have 30-inch biceps and be like, ugh. Boy, I wish it worked that easy. That would be pretty cool. But I'm just saying that I think that's a kind of touching on what you're kind of talking about, is you're very beautiful, and you're very feminine, and you're still able. I was just watching you bench 225 for reps
easily,
and I think that that's a big thing that we need to kind of share with the people out there, is that you're not going to just touch weights and wake up the next day and be benching 225 for reps. You've been lifting for a long time, and you've been at this for a long time, and it didn't just happen overnight. I just think that's a really good point to kind of bring up and kind of mention, that it's not you just start lifting weights and you're jacked.
Oh, absolutely.
It's funny you bring that up. I remember when I went to the Arnold last year, Courtney and I were flying to Ohio, and I noticed like every single magazine she looked at, all of like the actors or the women in the magazine were all very slim. There was nobody that appeared to have spent time in the gym, and I think that's kind of the portray that everybody wants, is like go do cardio, only eat 1,000 calories, and this is how you're supposed to look.
Well, no, you're only supposed to eat salad. That's all you eat now.
And then throw up after you're done.
Right.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand the transformation that you can make in the gym and still look really good and not have to worry. I mean, people don't understand. You need a lot of testosterone in your body to look like a professional bodybuilder, or to get that chiseled, huge, broad shouldered look, like maybe they're like that negative image that some women have. It's just crazy. For me, I think it was kind of crazy, and I even brought that up to her when we eventually landed in Ohio. That I was like, everybody in this book, this magazine you're looking at, are all just super small.
We all know that it was actually you who was looking at it.
Well,
like, you're just sitting there like
hey,
Courtney's over there reading, like, she's over there reading like training magazines and stuff, and you're sitting there like, oh, let me check out Team
Cosmo.
Yeah.
That's a good point you make about what you see in the media as what people think girls should look like.
Yeah.
I don't know how I escaped that, being kind of oblivious to that. Kind of do my own thing, regardless of what's popular.
Yeah.
But you do see that a lot in like pop culture and social media, and very thin people, very slim girls. And
right.
You can't be big and strong, or you can't be strong, or you can't be little and strong.
Well, I think that's actually a really good point too. Like, I don't understand where this whole kind of connotation comes from that women aren't supposed to be strong. I mean, you can outlift a lot of guys that are in that gym up there, and the gyms all over the world. You can outlift a lot of guys, but that's fine. I don't see why guys should be threatened by that. If that's awesome. You should be like, awesome, good job, Rebecca, great. You're doing good. And I think that people having this negative connotation towards strength in general, that, oh, you lift weights, that's just what guys do.
Yeah.
And I think that's just kind of the way society has just kind of been fed to us, force-fed to us, that it's all about you've got to women like cook, so to speak, and women are they don't lift weights, they aren't strong, they're just petite little weak things, and I don't think that's true at all. I think that women are very strong, and I think that lifting weights and getting strong as a woman is something that all women should strive for. I'm not saying that all women should strive to be world record weightlifters, but I think that neglecting that aspect of your fitness, of your life, is a detriment to yourself.
I don't think a lot of women even realize the benefits of strength training.
Mm-hmm.
Not, of course you could be strong, but
right.
Bone health and just picking up your kids or
mm-hmm.
picking up groceries or just the little things.
Yeah.
You can imagine how miserable it'd be to have maybe goals for the way you want your body to look, and to think that the only way you're going to get there is by a treadmill.
Yeah.
Do you know how miserable that'd be? I mean, you have goals,
mm-hmm.
goals, I have goals, and we know how or which direction we're going to go to obtain those goals. And it makes it fun because there's challenging things that we could do where we could watch our progress instead of watching a timer go up every minute. It's like, when do I get off this thing?
Well, I mean, there's that other thing that I think people don't ever think about, especially women that are just like on the treadmill all the time. There's nothing wrong with the treadmill and stuff. There's nothing wrong with doing cardio, but it's the fact of your body's going to adapt to whatever stimulus you put it under. So if you're doing weights, you're constantly changing that stimulus. You're adding different weights. You're making the different kind of load you're trying to bear, so your body's going to change. If you're always on the treadmill running the exact same speed every single day, guess what? Your body's going to adapt to that, and it doesn't matter how many miles you run anymore. Your body's just adapt to it, and you'll just be like, yep, I'm on my elliptical, just going hard.
Yeah, it's funny. I think, and I'm sure you've probably talked to other women that have had this happen, but when Courtney I think she was training for something where she had to cut weight, and that's what she did. She ran every day.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me how miserable that time of her life was, because it was always watching what you eat and then run. And it's like, I barely have any energy when I eat a bunch of carbs to go do anything. I couldn't imagine being on a low-carb diet and running. That sounds ridiculous.
Sounds kind of miserable.
Yeah. So, do a lot of women come up to you and ask you training advice? Does that happen frequently?
Sometimes. So I train at EPC for the most part, and we have women powerlifters there.
Mm-hmm.
But they all pretty much know what they're doing. Sometimes when I'm traveling for work, I'll be at a commercial gym, and I have been approached once or twice by other girls asking me, how did you get so strong? Or, what is your training like? So that happens every once in a while.
What do you do for work?
I am a technical rep for a biotech company. I cover the West Coast.
So you're flying all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fun?
It can be. Depends on where I'm going and how long I've been on the road.
Yeah. So how does that affect your training if you're kind of all over the place? Does that have like a negative impact on your training?
Sometimes. I have a membership to LA Fitness kind of on the side, just so that I have places that I can train when I'm on the road. So that's helpful.
What about diet-wise? It's like traveling.
I eat all the food.
See, for me, I eat like shit every time I go out. We just went to Sacramento last week, and I mean, we ate out like shit that I wouldn't eat regularly.
Yeah. Well, you had to
go
to
ate it out like. No, it's actually one place we didn't make it to.
Seriously?
Yeah, I really wanted to, but yeah, like when I go out of town, I'm always eating like shit, and so I couldn't imagine like traveling for my job. Like I would be a train wreck. I'd probably be like a super heavyweight.
It's hard, and it depends on, am I training for a competition where I have to cut weight? What am I doing as far as training goes? I have been on work trips where I have packed my entire week's worth of food in a cooler and kept, in Tupperware. I've done that. But most of the time it's just about making reasonable choices.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you made the transition to strongman anyway, because, that way you don't even have to worry about the weight classes as much. You're just like, whatever, I eat all the foods. It's
whatever. So let's talk about your best bench. You said it was like 265 in a competition.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you do that?
That was a year ago.
Okay.
At EPC. That was my first raw meet ever.
Did you
So
typically had been a single ply or multi-ply lifter?
both,
Both.
both. So I spent most of my lifting career as a geared lifter, and then moving here, and I had taken a little bit of a break from competing, only to find that now raw lifting was all the rage and the new thing to do. So
what all the cool kids do.
It is. So I trained for that, and I had benched 265 there at that meet.
And then what kind of numbers were you hitting in your single ply and multi-ply?
I don't remember single ply.
Please just don't say more than I've ever done.
I think it was low 300s. And then multiply, my best was this past April. It was a 413.
Gee, that is insane. So now,
Good work.
Thank you.
now you're kind of flirting right around like the 300 bench raw.
Mm-hmm.
And I was unaware how close she is to breaking an all-time record. Is there any thoughts of what kind of meets you're looking at? I know you've kind of transitioned into strongman, and that's
the right transition.
that's kind of where your path is taking you right now. But you're so close to breaking an all-time record, you're obviously really great at something. How long until we can expect to see you compete again in powerlifting?
I would say next year, definitely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
And see, and so now coming up,
She's just gonna do deadlift only though. So
that just doesn't even make sense.
I know. She's so close to. You're so close to breaking the all-time record. So she's just gonna do deadlift only.
Yeah.
So coming up for you, you're planning on competing in strongman in March.
Correct.
And with the plans of then next year getting an invite to the Arnold.
Yes.
So how is your training looking like now, and what will it look like, kind of easing into March? Like, what kind of things are you doing?
So we have the list of events for the competition in March, which is the feats of strength. Mm-hmm. And so I work with Ben Crutcher from EPC. Mm-hmm. He's kind of been doing my programming. He has been doing my programming. And basically I do what he says.
Yeah. And how's that working out?
It's working out great so far.
Good. So at EPC, do you guys have like a group time where you're all training, or do you like to train on your own?
We have group time for events.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Sundays at 2 when we all get together, or as many people as we can get together.
Yeah.
And we'll run through a series of events. And then during the week, we're kind of on our own.
And I think that's also kind of good to kind of bring up. That's an interesting point that you kind of touched on, but I don't think we've elaborated very much on, is the whole thing of you're this elite level athlete, and you've been an elite level athlete for a while, and you're making that transition into strongman, and it's what do you do? What my coach tells me. So even though you're an elite level athlete, you still are using a coach to help you, and I just think that's a good point to kind of bring up, that it's sometimes people like to have that direction in what they're doing and how to actually make that transition, and it makes it a little bit easier when all you have to focus on is just your training.
Right.
Instead of having to be like, wait, let me plot out my week's training. How is my training split going to be? It's just kind of like, what am I doing today?
Well, I think too,
that's
super interesting is how you are really close to breaking this record. I mean, I think you have it in you really soon.
Yeah.
Well, the way you were pressing today, I wouldn't be surprised if you could double 300. So it makes you think, wow, that's pretty impressive when you want to try something you're kind of new to, just as a different challenge. Even though, I mean, you're really good at something, you're backing away from that to just kind of take a new path. And I think that's really interesting. I mean, it's definitely brave. I couldn't do that.
It's fun. It's new challenges are fun, and learning. I'm a big fan of learning.
Yeah.
And so that part is a lot of fun as well. Strongman is not about just being strong at all. I found that out. And it's so multifaceted, and I think it's making me a better athlete all around, than just
being a bench press person.
You know what? You can't say that because you make it sound like you're being discriminatory, and you can't be discriminatory.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to offend anyone.
You bench pressers. Well, maybe go back to when you first started training back at Louisiana Tech. Is that where you're from originally?
Louisiana. Mm-hmm.
In that area? What was your training looking like then? Because I think what a lot of people forget is back when you started training, there's no, videos all over the internet. There's no Facebook. There's nothing saying do it this way because this really strong person said to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You're just kind of going off of people that you were trained with that maybe they found success with. So what did your training look like kind of jumping into powerlifting?
So we had, they actually offered powerlifting as a class as well. You could take it for credit, which is super awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So it met 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we had a squat focus day, a bench focus day, and a deadlift focus day. And so we would do the main lifts and then accessories for each. We followed a periodization scheme for training up for meets.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would add in equipment as we got closer to the meets that we were doing.
And so were you equipped back then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And do you have any intent of ever going back to geared lifting?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
There's some fun stuff to do there too.
Just not enough time in the day.
Yeah.
I know.
I just was curious about that because I've never really used gear, and I don't really plan on using gear because it's just whatever. My primary focus has always been strongman, but I have sometimes thought about how fun would it be to just put on a squat suit and squat a couple 1,200 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. Why not?
Well, maybe you could weigh in on this. So back when I first started lifting, I was lifting in gear, and we kind of talked a little bit about beginner lifters should never just jump into gear. But now, kind of as I'm more into raw lifting, I think if you're going to be a geared lifter, I think you should do that at the beginning, just because I think it's very difficult to take the groove for a raw lifter and have that translate into using gear.
Yeah.
So maybe you could weigh in a little bit. You think it's better to start off geared, better to start off raw? Does it matter?
Well, I've only gone one way, so I'm not quite sure. I do think you need a base level of strength to begin with before you start throwing on supportive gear. I think what helped me a lot in my raw lifting, which I haven't been doing for very long, is the fact that I have so much experience in supportive gear. So there's a lot of overload that goes on, and there's a lot of nervous system adaptation.
Yeah.
So I'm used to what 400 pounds feels like in my hands. So a 250 bench is like, oh, well, this feels light.
Yeah.
Same thing with squat. And then you're training all of those, the accessory muscles as well to be able to hold those weights. So I think it could be helpful in that respect.
Yeah. And that's kind of...
Now I'm just going to make my transition to multiply.
Yeah, I know.
You just motivated me now.
It'd be interesting to see you lift and multiply. I think your numbers would obviously go up,
Yeah.
but I think you would have a really tough time finding the groove in some of those things.
I would. I'd have to practice it for a while. Just watching people get in gear and stuff, and I know the way I do things is a little bit different than it would be if I had started gear, because I've always just gone raw. And so throwing gear on, I remember the first time I put actual knee wraps on instead of the little ace bandage wraps, it was messed up my squat immensely, and I had to try to relearn how to squat. Now it's which knee wraps am I using, because that's how I'm going to set up my stance, and how am I going to do this. And I just think about if I put on a squat suit, it would make things so much different. Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting. I'd like to see you do the sledgehammer bench or push-up in a bench press shirt. Maybe I think I have one you could try.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Yeah. See if you can bring it down, get your chest down to it.
With a bench shirt on. There's this thing that Grant Haga tagged me in this picture on Instagram, this video of a guy doing a push-up with a sledgehammer off balance. So he's holding one hand down and the other, like the head of the sledgehammer is down here and the other part's up here, and he did push-ups keeping the without letting the handle touch the ground. So you're holding it like this.
Ooh.
So
Super crazy.
trying to do that with a bench shirt on.
That would be interesting.
Well, let's, because I'm super ignorant to this, let's talk about your strongman competition.
Okay.
So why don't you just kind of walk me through the whole day?
The 2 days?
The 2 days, apparently.
Nationals 2 days.
Let's walk through the 2 days.
Nationals, yes. It was 2 days. It was me and Andre that had gone, representing.
Where was it at?
Davenport, Iowa.
Oh.
Middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
Middle of
Flat
nowhere.
land.
It was very pretty there.
Was it?
It was. It was right on the Mississippi. So it was a pretty city, but the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
So day one, we started out with the log clean and press for reps. We had 60 seconds. I was a middleweight 180.
And you got 402
reps?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This was my 4th time touching the log at competition. The best I had done in training was, I think, 4 reps.
What was the weight of the log?
155. And I locked out my 6th rep right as they were calling time. So my 6th rep didn't count. I officially got 5, but I really locked the 6th.
You got 6 out.
I did. The second event was the Conan's yoke carry, which was an awful event. So
I still like it better than the Conan's wheel, though.
I'd just rather run with the yoke.
I know, the yoke would be better. You're carrying the yoke in your arms like this.
So
walking with it.
Yes.
That sounds uncomfortable.
Very. I have scars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks like you slit your wrist after you're done.
I have wanted to. But,
I was trying to end it.
So it was a 60-foot course, or 60-foot lane. My weight was 350.
Mm-hmm.
So pick it up and run, walk as fast as you can with it. I did 60 feet in 11.7 seconds.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't do that with nothing in my hands. It's amazing.
That was a difficult one. The third event of the first day, and the last event for the first day, was the farmer's walk. So for us, in my division, it was 190 per hand, which I ran the 60-foot course in 8.56.
Oh my god.
That's pretty good.
It was a PR for
With
me.
almost 400 pounds
Yeah.
carrying.
It was it was amazing that I placed 7th in that event.
Really?
Third through 7th place was separated by 0.12 seconds.
Oh my gosh.
Which is, I can't even, that's a tiny.
How did you
difference.
place in the first 2 events in comparison to everybody else?
I tied for 5th in the log. And I was actually pretty far down for the yoke. I think I was 12th or 13th for that one. And overall, I was 6th going into day 2. Tied for 6th.
What's crazy is to think about your times and your reps for those 3 events, and to think, that there were 5-6 people that did better than that is insane. Because you're telling me this, and I'm like, oh, you won. That's it. And so it's crazy to think that there are 5 or 6 people ahead of you. It's insane.
There were some really strong. There was really strong girls
some
there.
Good times too. You're doing really awesome.
Oh, thank you. I don't have a good concept of what's good or not, which could be good or bad.
Yeah.
So day 2, there was just 2 events. The first event was kind of a weird one. It was so it's a circus dumbbell, which you press with one hand, combined with a one-arm deadlift. So you press the dumbbell and then you go straight to the deadlift. Each one counts for half a rep. and you have to get one before you can move on to another. You have 60 seconds to get as many as possible. My dumbbell was 90 and my deadlift was 145. And total, I got 6 reps. So 6 with each.
So basically 12 reps.
Basically 12, which my best in training was 9. So I set a huge PR there.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And I tied for 4th in that one.
Dang.
So how close are these two together? Because you obviously have to have a little bit of room to deadlift, and then I'm assuming once you're done with the circus dumbbell, you just drop it, right?
You can't. You actually have to guide it down. It was made very explicit in the rules that if you dropped it, you would zero.
Oh, that's stupid.
So you had to, you know,
Is that for so it won't break?
Well, so it won't break, and kind of for your safety too, so it's not bouncing everywhere. They were set up very close to one another. The deadlift was actually on a farmer's like implement, so it was shorter.
Oh.
So it wasn't a regular bar that you had to run around.
So did you know that they were going to do one arm deadlifts?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you were able to practice that a little bit.
I think I practiced it once because the weight was so light. I think it was just to break up the reps of the dumbbell. The dumbbell was where
it was heavy.
That was the heavy part.
Yes.
Okay.
And so 145 on a deadlift is
my max, but let's talk about how you rep it out.
So the last event was a sandbag load and carry. So we had 3 sandbags, a 120, a 140, and a 160. The loading platform was 30 feet away. So you started, grab a sandbag, run, load it, run back, grab the next one, run it and load it, and then you do the last one. I ran all 3 in 39 seconds.
Wow.
And how did you play? Can you even go 30 feet?
No.
30 seconds?
No. That'd be a PR for me. What? How did you place in that?
I actually don't know. So they'd updated everything right after the events, so you knew like where you stood in that event and overall. But since this was the last one, they didn't post those.
Right.
And there was a celebration banquet that night where they gave out awards. And then
that's kind of cool.
They posted the official placings.
So you got to kind of go back to your hotel and shower, change, do whatever you needed to do before. That's kind of a cool idea. Instead of having to sit there for an hour watching everybody go up as you're tired and stink and just want to go.
When I've gone to nationals before, that's how it ends up being for the guys, because they'll just be like, oh, we'll do the banquet after the guys are done, so the women will go home and we just keep.
And you guys still stink,
right? We just keep competing.
Yeah.
And when we're finally done, it's like, all right, let's do the banquet.
Yeah.
So we actually had a fair amount of time this time.
Yeah.
I think we were done by 2.
I think it was.
And the banquet, it was at 6:30.
Nice.
Or 7.
So did you know where you were at?
No.
Had no idea.
I had an idea, like I knew a range, but
you didn't know an exact.
No.
So how did you feel after you figured out where you placed and that you weren't, you didn't qualify for the Arnold? Was there like a moment of maybe I don't want to do this anymore, or was that like, you know what, I'm going to tear some shit up now?
So the way they did it at the banquet was to call out all the people that qualified, plus give out the awards for 1st through 3rd place. And I knew I was close. The top 7 in my division were going to get invites. And pretty much when they called 7th and it wasn't me, I knew I wasn't going to get one. Which, you know, I was, okay, that's fine. But it wasn't until after that when they posted the actual placings. And so I walk up there and I look and I see 8. And I was a little upset. I didn't expect to be as upset as I was. I didn't have it as a hard and fast goal that that's what I wanted. Just because this is my first time, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know a lot of things, but it definitely, at first thought, this is mine next year.
Wow. You know, what's interesting is I talked to a lifter recently about, I think it's good, not that you failed by any means, but I think it's good to not meet your goals. And the reason behind that is because that's what kind of pushes you. I think a lot of people become complacent in their training when they are doing really well all the time, or if they compete and they're constantly hitting their goals or winning or whatever. I think it's when you fail is when you have that come to Jesus talk with yourself of like, I'm either going to bring it now or I'm done. And it sucks that you didn't get that invite, but I have no doubts in my mind that you go to this event again, and we're not talking about, if you heard seventh and it wasn't you, then you're not going to get it. I mean, we're going to be talking about if you didn't get second, first, how pissed off you're going to be.
It's interesting that you say that about failing. My first year lifting, powerlifting, we went to collegiate nationals, and I placed sixth my first year. And first through fifth got awards. And I was the only one on the entire team that did not get an award. And that irritated me.
Stung a little.
It did. So I trained really hard, and I won every one of them, every collegiate nationals after that. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think that's exactly the same thing. Like you didn't get your trophy this year, and it's like, you just wait till next year.
I know the things that I've done when I've broken like a record or I've obtained a goal, I've always taken that time afterwards to like exhale and go, okay, I'm there. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then kind of let the dust clear. Yeah, work on my squat and then move forward. And it seems like every time I do that, I take like 4 or 5 steps back, and then it takes me some time to kind of catch up to where I was. And then it's like, man, I wish I wouldn't have taken that break. I almost wish I didn't succeed then, because it just, for me personally, that's how it's always worked out. But when I fail, I'm hot pissed. When I've not really, I remember a competition, I drove home, I started crying because I was so pissed off. I couldn't break the record. I'm crying the whole way up from Corvallis, Eugene, pissed off. And my training cycle from then until my next competition was insane. It's probably the best one I've ever had.
Well, I had the exact same scenario. I set like the world record for the APA in squatting in my weight class and stuff, and I was like, I am the greatest. I am so strong. I'm so awesome. And I was, winning strongman contests around here, and it was like, yeah, I'm great. And then I went down to the Northern California Fit Expo and went for my pro card down there. And I walked in just like, give me my trophy.
Jeff.
I'm awesome. You guys all know me. Of course, nobody knows who the hell I am, but I'm like, I'm awesome. And I go down there, and I just got the shit kicked out of me. I think I got like 9th out of 12 or something. And like the second event was the event that really just did it for me. Because the first event, I knew I wasn't going to do that well in it, but I still did okay in the first event. Second event was a wheelbarrow loading, and I was like, oh, grip stuff, I've got this. I've got this, no problem. Went out there, and I didn't take chalk out on the field with me. So I picked up my first keg, loaded the keg, went around and grabbed the handles of the wheelbarrow, picked up the wheelbarrow, and it just slipped out of my hands. Because when I picked up the keg, all the chalk came out of my hands, and I made a rookie mistake, just an overconfident mistake, didn't take chalk with me. So if I had just been able to chalk up, so I'm just sitting out there, and even the announcer was John Anderson, and he's like, oh, he looks like the weight looks easy for him, but he just looks like he doesn't have any chalk. And I'm like, somebody just throw chalk. I can do it. And I was so angry, so I ended up just completely failing that event. And I went back, I was throwing stuff, and went back and just sat down. I was shaking. I was just so angry. And right then I almost packed up all my gear and went home.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm not going to win. That event cost me my pro card. I'm not going to do it this year. I should just go home. And then I was like, no, you paid your money. You're here to be a good competitor. Suck it up. Go out there and have fun and learn from this experience. Learn from it. My training, when I came back from that contest, oh my God, I went crazy. And, when I went to my next contest after that, I was just crushing everybody because I was just so pissed off about that. And the biggest thing that it drilled into me is you ain't nothing. Nobody cares. You're not something special. Oh cool, you got a world record. Everybody has world records. Who cares? What are you doing? How are you making yourself better? Don't ever just sit down and be like, I'm awesome. You need to always be improving. You always need to be challenging yourself, striving for that next goal, looking for something new. And I think that your move into strongman makes sense to me because you do start to get a little bit stale almost. the way I felt. Like for me personally,
There it goes.
I get a little bit stale if I just focus on one thing for too long.
Mhm.
And just try to do that one thing. I'll just get so discouraged, so like beat myself up, and just so mentally like unfit, so to speak, because I'm just beating myself up so much because I'm so close to this record, or I'm so close to that number, I'm so close to this, that having that break, being like, you know what, I'm gonna be a powerlifter now, or you know what, now I'm gonna go be a strongman. Breaks up that monotony and keeps making you better, but
Mhm.
giving you a new challenge to go after without just sitting there and just beating your head against the wall like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and then it's not happening, and you just keep being like, I'm gonna make it happen, just wait. So that's when you just put flowers in your hair and just
Yeah.
do it.
I'm gonna start benching like this.
Yeah.
There's something too. I think I'm gonna hit a PR. If
I
she
feel
could do it, I could do
I
it.
feel a lot more motivated right now. Anyway,
That's the flower power.
yeah.
So what kind of drives you? Like what? Because obviously strongman and powerlifting is super competitive. There's got to be something that you're like, fuck it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm gonna. I mean, so what is that? What is that thing that gets you going, fires you up?
That's a really good question. Um, Really, it's just well, what can I do? What am I capable of doing?
Mm-hmm.
There are records, or there's
Hmm.
this or that or whatever that, okay, somebody my size has done this before. Well, can I do better than that? Or not even look at that, not even let that be a limiting factor. Like, let's try not to put limits or walls up as to say, what's the best you can be or the best you can do.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think that was kind of installed in you? Was that kind of maybe as like growing up, your parents tell you to always shoot for the moon, or how did you get brought up to have that kind of installed in you?
I think my parents had a lot to do with it, by always encouraging me to do the best I can, and that there really is no limit if you want something bad enough. Um, Fortunately for lifting, and me in lifting, I have a knack for it. I'm fairly good at it. Um, so just kind of building on those things. I think because when I started, our girls team wasn't all that big, and still there are many more guys lifting than girls. But you're always around. I was always around stronger people lifting with guys. So I never really knew what I wasn't supposed to be able to do.
Right.
So you just
You're
keep
just
going.
trying to keep up.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just keep going.
How are your parents with being supportive now with moving into strongman, being doing powerlifting? Do they go to any of your events?
They haven't been to any in a while. They're back in Louisiana.
So it's a little ways away.
It's a little trip for them.
Yeah.
I know when I was competing in college, my dad would come to every one of them. He traveled to Hungary with me. I made the junior world team one year, and so he
Wow,
That's awesome.
went across the pond with me.
that's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so he's always been very supportive
Mhm.
of my strength endeavors.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing too. Like, I think that's also kind of pays testament to when you do have that good support structure, when you have people that back you up for going after these goals. It sometimes becomes a little bit more like when you do reach those stagnant moments where you're like, I don't want to do it anymore. You think about all those people that have been supporting you and that been there with you and tried to help you succeed, and you're like, I can go a little bit harder. I can kind of keep going.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that was I thought when I really considered just stopping competing at all. I thought about that because my mom went with me to every one of my contests when I first started competing, and I started thinking about all that time that she had sacrificed and spent time taking me to contests and stuff. And I was like, look at all the effort she did. This is what your dream is. Just keep going. You're fine. Just suck it up. You'll
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just kind of that. I remember competitions where my mom or dad would be there,
Mm-hmm.
and getting ready to lift. I kind of felt like they had an expectation in their head of what they wanted me to do, and like that always felt like it put pressure on me, but it helped me be a better lifter because they probably didn't care if I benched the bar.
Yeah.
But for me, I had this expectation that I had to be this is what I thought they wanted me to be at. So it always helped push me to be a better lifter.
Well, that's definitely what happened for me, because my dad was who started me training. Like he was my first coach. He was the guy who like really started the whole journey with me. And so when I first started competing, he went to contests and competed with me. And so then when he wasn't competing anymore, it was like, why am I not competing? I'm still healthy. I'm still young. I mean, he stopped competing because he broke his sternum and had cancer. And I'm like, oh, I just don't really feel like competing.
I gotta play Call of Duty.
Yeah, I gotta level up. It's like, come on, man, you're fine. Just go back to, this is your passion. This is a big part of your life. Just keep doing it. And I think that's kind of when you do confront those issues where it's like, oh, I'm so close to the world record, but some days you wake up and it's like, I don't think I'm ever gonna get there. I don't think I'm ever going to do it. But you think about that support structure that's been there for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your parents. It doesn't have to be those people that have always, but just in general, those people that have been there, the team that's been there for you. Although all those training partners that had those long nights with you and helped you, stayed with you in the sauna when you're cutting weight, or, helped you, stay disciplined. Or when you came into the gym and you're like, you know what, I really don't want to do it today. And they're like, no, suck it up, you're doing it. And you're like, okay, and then you did it. And you felt better for it, and you were thankful to them for their time to do that. That's kind of what I think about those times when I do run into that wall of do I want to keep doing this? I think about all those people that have sacrificed their time for me. And it's like, what, am I just going to throw it all away now to just be like, you know what? I'm going to go play some Call of Duty. I gotta go do some deathmatch. It's cool.
Yeah.
So I just sometimes think about that, and I think that's a good point to talk about, is just that having that support structure and just having people that, and realizing all those people that have done all that stuff with you and have been there to support you, and not just your parents, not just your family, but your lifting community and your lifting team. I mean, it's you up on there on the stage by yourself, but everybody else has been there with you through all those days and hours of grueling training and stuff. So I sometimes I think about that I'm representing all of that hard work and all of their effort in me and their trust in me when I go up on the platform or when I'm out on a stage doing strongman events or something. I think about just all those people that have sacrificed, to help me. So.
Well, and I think too, you never know who you might be inspiring too. Not that that's why you should do it, but there are people that look up to you, and there's people that look up to you and me, and it's training through those hard times and getting through those hard times that those are the inspiring moments.
It's interesting. Michael Jordan said one time, back when he was in his prime,
talking about basketball.
I know, hoop ball, that every time he went and played in a different arena, he felt like there was at least one person in the stands that was never going to see him play again. Maybe have never seen him play before, and this was his one opportunity to leave an impression that he's the best basketball player in the world. And that was kind of his mindset going into each game, is he wanted to show maybe that one person that he's the best. And so maybe that's kind of an attitude to have when you compete or really preparing to.
I like that.
Is there might be somebody there that you might inspire, or might be somebody who looks at you and go, wow, if he could do it or she could do it, I can do it. So that's maybe just an outlook to have. So is there any kind of routines that you do before a competition, maybe like the night before or the morning of? Is there anything that you have to do?
Your little rituals at all or anything?
I used to be a lot more ritual-oriented. I used to have a necklace that I would have to wear, or certain socks, or certain sports bra. The older I get, the more things go out the window because I forget them or realize that I have all I need.
Yeah.
It's all here, and it's all here.
What about songs? Is there any songs that screw you up if you hear them? Or like jinx you?
No. No, a lot of that's mental too.
It's all Taylor Swift. When her songs
Justin
come
Bieber.
on, I'm just like, oh, I'm done, I can't do it.
And KOTB. Come on. Lifting music is helpful. It can get you fired up. Anything that's heavy and hard and fast-paced. But I don't have to have it.
Yeah.
So it's all about the kids' thought.
Yeah. It's interesting. I have one particular song, and I don't remember the name of it, but every time I hear it, if it's on the radio, I turn it off. If it's on an iPod or a phone or whatever. I mean, I won't listen to it just because I had one competition where I did extremely bad when that song played, and it stuck in my head that I'll never listen to that song.
What song is it?
It's like it's a White Stripes, or White Stripes or something similar to that. No,
The Delilah song?
I'll figure it out. Or Seven Nation Army, maybe. I don't know. It's something like that.
What song it is, so
Yeah,
I can help you out.
Yeah, it sucks. If I hear that, I'm done.
Anything you do from now on, I just want to play that.
Yeah. I'm gonna go crazy. So one of the idiots that does the podcast with us, my brother, is not here today. But he sent me an email and said he wanted me to ask you what your favorite movie is.
Shawshank Redemption.
Oh,
Interesting.
that is a good movie.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good movie.
Have you seen any good movies recently? Magic Mike?
XXL.
Yeah.
Let's see, on my long plane ride out to Nationals, I watched Terminator Genesis.
Was that
It was
good?
actually not bad.
It's all right.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one. It was alright. It was better than I was anticipating it was going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it was like, watching your previews, I'm like, oh man, come on, really? And then I watched it and I was like, oh, this actually made sense. The plot kind of follows why Arnold's older and why it makes sense that he's an old man and stuff like that. But
yeah, I don't even remember what the Terminator movies are like.
So there's this guy.
Well, I remember that part. But
he's
been
a
so long.
cyborg, and he's trying to kill other people.
You and your sci-fi shit. Well, we really appreciate you coming out and training with us today and being on the podcast. The first female host or guest.
Yeah.
And hopefully, some of this will just kind of show what kind of person you are, and hopefully inspire other women to get in there and really just train however way they want to, whether it be strongman or benching, multi-ply, single ply, whatever. Just get in there and just kick ass, and you've definitely been an inspiration not only to me, but I know to people that saw you here lift for autism, and just the way you carry yourself, and it speaks volume. And
especially
then you come out,
honesty.
Yeah, and then you come out and you just kick ass, and you're very humble about everything you've done, and you're a hell of a lifter. So I thank you very much for coming on and spending the couple hours with us.
Oh, I appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. And for any females out there listening, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm happy to talk with anybody that would want to.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.